So we are watching the retrial of Karen Reed. The retrial began on April the 1st, 2025 in Dedham, Massachusetts, following a mistrial in 2024 due to a hung jury. She faces charges of second-degree murder, vehicular manslaughter while under the influence, and leaving the scene of a fatal collision in connection with the 2022 death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Prosecutors allege that Reed intentionally struck O'Keefe with her SUV after a night of drinking and left him to die in the snow outside of a fellow officer's home. The defense contends that O'Keefe was killed inside the home and that Reed is being framed in a cover-up involving law enforcement.
Karen, how are you feeling this morning?
It's the murder trial that's become an American true crime obsession.
Free Karen Reed!
With supporters flocking to the courthouse, all for Karen.
I feel great. Today went well. We prepped hard. And I'm just proud of my team. And we've got the truth, so we just forge ahead.
This is Karen's retrial for the murder of her police officer boyfriend John O'Keefe in 2022. She's accused of running him over with her SUV during a blizzard after a night of heavy drinking. The first jury was hung, unable to agree on all three of the counts against her.
We don't like reruns.
So now she's back in court for opening statements with new fireworks.
There was no collision with John O'Keefe.
And new faces.
She clipped him, he fell backwards, he broke his head.
The prosecution team is now run by Hank Brennan, most famous for defending notorious mob boss James Whitey Bulger. Brennan is pushing the narrative that Karen admitted to hitting O'Keefe.
Miss Reed stated that she hit him 3 times. I hit him.
I hit him.
Her defense has also hired this woman, her new attorney, Victoria George, who was an alternate juror during Reed's first trial, a first in judicial history.
She was, okay, let me get this right. Her now attorney was the alternate juror for the first trial, because we're looking at the retrial. That's crazy. Never heard of that one.
Defense is focusing on lead investigator Michael Proctor, who was fired after the first trial for his very inappropriate conduct.
What did you text about going through Karen Reed's phone?
No news so far.
Shame on you, sir.
The trial has turned Karen into a true crime megastar.
No magazine wants to feature me.
She was the happiest murder defendant in America.
She was also the focus of the documentary A Body in the Snow, The Trial of Karen Reed, now on Investigation Discovery and Max.
So, did you drive your car into John?
I did not drive my car into John.
This doc is loaded with exclusive interviews and behind the courtroom footage shot during Karen's first trial. Director Terry Dunn Muir's access was unprecedented.
It's very rare, I think, you see a documentary crew be allowed to follow a defendant and their defense team through a trial.
This is my version of testifying. Doing this film is my testimony.
Terry will not follow Karen for the retrial, but has heard about some new changes.
They're going to bring in some new witnesses and that there could be some new evidence presented. Basically, it's the same case. It's just going to be tried somewhat differently because there's different characters.
You're either pro-Karen Reed or you are pro-police.
People have called it a circus. They've called it a spectacle. This case has been tried in social media. They say how rare it is that you see people cheering a murder defendant on her way into trial. We don't usually see that. So that makes this case very, very different.
I can't believe what's happening to me.
No, Mrs. O'Keefe. Yeah. All right, Mr. Brennan, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So this is the mother. This is the mother of the deceased victim, John O'Keefe. And she's going to be talking about her kids. And it's a sad situation because another child passed away right before John did. So let's listen to this.
Good afternoon, Mrs. O'Keefe.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brennan.
Could you kindly introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Margaret O'Keefe. I am John O'Keefe's mother.
Are you married?
Yes.
Who are you married to?
John O'Keefe, Jr.
How long have you been married for?
Too long. 53 years.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't hear you.
53. Long enough?
How long have you lived in the area?
We moved to Canton 3 years ago.
Before you moved to Canton 3 years ago, where did you live?
Braintree.
How long had you lived in Braintree for?
50 years.
Did you begin your family in Braintree?
No, we lived in Mattapan first, and that's where my daughter was born, and then we moved to Braintree.
Your daughter was born when you were in Mattapan? Mm-hmm. Your daughter's name?
Kristen.
How many children did you have?
3.
Did you Kristen and John?
And Paul.
Is Paul the youngest, the baby?
The baby.
Did you raise your children, how long were you in Mattapan before you moved closer to here?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
How long did you live in Mattapan before you moved closer?
2 years.
And then the rest of the time you were in the area?
In Braintree.
And tell me a little bit about your immediate family.
My daughter. My daughter Kristen had a tumor, a cancerous tumor that she had for 5 months. And she died in November of 13. She had 2 children. And then 2 months after she passed, her husband passed from a heart attack.
Oh my God.
And then you all know about John. And then my son Paul is over there.
That was 2013, ma'am? Could I ask you about her children?
She had 2 children, Kaylee, who's now 17, and Patrick is 14. And he's a run for my money.
Do you remember how old the children were when your daughter passed?
3 and 6.
When that happened, was there any plan for the children?
As far as?
Well, what was going to happen with the children?
When she passed?
Yes, ma'am.
And when he passed?
Yes, ma'am.
My son decided to be the head guardian, and then we had, I was the other guardian, and there was Steve's brother and sister were the other 2 guardians. So there's 4 of us.
May I approach you just the microphone?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Talking too soft? Okay.
Did I understand that there was a decision that John would be the primary guardian?
Yes.
Can you share with us how that decision came about?
Well, he was single. The other 2 guardians were married, and they didn't have children, but he decided to do it himself, and then I was the second one in case he needed me. So I was over there most of the time, like when the kids get home from school or, take them places, and then have them on weekends so he could have a break. So that's what I did.
Did other people help out in addition to you and John?
Yes, my husband was there, and Paul and Erin were there, and the other members of Steve's family.
I understand at some point John worked in law enforcement?
Yes.
Besides that, could you just share just a little bit about him with us?
He was a police officer at headquarters. And when he first started, he was in Hyde Park, and then he moved to Dorchester, and then into Boston itself, and that's what he did.
I was hoping if you could tell us a little bit about John besides his work.
He was enthusiastic with sports. He was wonderful with the kids. He took care of them and did everything for them. Take them places on vacations and everything. He was their number one when they called him JJ.
Would you mind if I showed you a photograph?
No.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'm showing you a photograph.
Okay.
And can you tell us what you see?
That's my son.
Thank you. May I introduce this as an exhibit?
Yes.
So it seemed like John was a good guy. Just picked the wrong girlfriend. His sister died, she had a brain tumor, and then 2 months later, the sister's husband died, left these kids without any parents. And John stepped up. He stepped up, him and his mother and his father stepped up to take care of these kids. And now John is deceased. It's sad.
616.
Thank you. With the court's permission, I'd like to publish.
Yes.
Ms. O'Keefe, do you know when this picture was taken?
I really don't know. It was in the summer of I don't know what year. I really don't know the year. But is that one he probably took them to a fair or an amusement park, and he had his picture taken there with it. And then the kids were with him too. So.
Do you know how old he was in that picture?
43, maybe.
Okay. What year was John born?
75.
Miss Gilman, could you take the photo down, please? How old was John when he passed?
45. My mind's not working right now.
I understand. It's okay. Can I ask you a few more questions? Okay. You let me know. I want to go back to the morning of January 29th, 2022. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Were you home?
I was home in Braintree.
In Braintree?
Mm-hmm.
Who were you with?
My husband.
Did you receive a phone call?
Yes, from Kerry Roberts. It was about 6:15, between 6:15 and 6:30 in the morning.
Did you know Kerry Roberts?
Yes.
How did you know her?
She lived in Braintree for a while. John and her were friends. They went to the junior prom together. And then we found out that she moved. She lived in Canton, and she was around the corner from us, and she helped us out with the kids.
And when you were helping take care of the kids, would you often see Miss Roberts?
Yeah, because she'd take Patrick and her son Ryan places. And, yeah, so I saw her all the time.
Often?
Yeah.
When she called you that morning, do you remember the conversation?
Yeah, she said John was found in a snowbank. And I didn't understand, which I said, what do you mean, found in a snowbank? She said, they found him in the snow. They don't know what happened. She says he's brought up to the Good Samaritan Hospital. So she says, I'm going to come get you and Papa, because I don't want you driving. And I says, we can drive there. We both have four-wheel drives. So she says, no, I'm coming. So she came to get us. And it took a while to get there because the snow was bad. And in the meantime, I had called one of my nieces to find out, because one of my other nieces worked at Good Samaritan, and I just wanted to know if she could find out anything about it. And I just couldn't get a hold of her. So when we get up there, they told us to sit in this room, and they would bring us down shortly. So finally they said, okay, you can go down. So we started walking down the corridor, and as I'm walking down, I hear Karen Reed yell, Peg, is he dead? Is he dead, Peg? Peg, is he dead? And I just kept walking, and then I asked, I don't know who it was, a nurse or a worker at the hospital, and I said, what is she doing here? And she said, oh, she's being psych evaluated. So then they brought us down to the room where my son was. He's bruised up, his eyes were closed. It's just not a good scene.
Okay. I'd like to go back, if I may.
Okay.
May I?
Yep.
When Kerry Roberts picked you up in the car, did anybody go with you and Miss Roberts on the drive from your home in Braintree to Good Samaritan Hospital?
No, we were the only three in the car.
Who was the third person?
My husband.
During the drive to Good Samaritan Hospital that morning,
yep,
did you ever have a chance while you were in the car to speak to the defendant?
Yes.
Please tell the jury about that conversation.
I asked her what happened.
So the mother is in the car with a family friend and with her husband going to see what's going on with John. And she had a conversation with Karen Reed on the way to the hospital. So that's what we're about to listen to right now.
And she said, we went to a party. I left him there. I said, you just left him there? She said, yes, I just left him there.
Did she say whether she left him inside or outside?
No, she just said I left him there.
Did she tell you whether or not she left him in the driveway or the street?
She just said, no, I just left him there.
You told us that when you got into Good Samaritan Hospital, you were walking down the hallway and you had another interaction with the defendant.
Yes.
And you told us that she was asking if he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe a little bit where in the hospital you had this interaction with her?
When they took us down to the emergency room, the doors open, and there was a corridor to go down to the other rooms, and she was on the left-hand side, and that's when she saw me come in, and that's when she started yelling, is he dead, Peg? Is he dead, Peg?
So when she was yelling, could you describe her mood or demeanor? Was she animated?
She's just loud, and I don't know, she was just loud, and as she was saying it.
And when she was asking you, is he dead, did you again ask her a question?
I just asked the nurse, what is she doing here?
Okay. And did you speak to Miss Reed herself?
No. No.
At some point, and you and your husband got to see John?
Yes.
And were you with Kerry at some point?
Kerry was there, and then my son Paul was there.
How did you get home?
I think I went home with Paul, and I think my husband went home with Kerry. We went back to Canton at the time.
Do you remember generally the time frame? Was it morning, afternoon, evening?
No, it was morning.
Do you remember getting home that day?
Yeah. It was snowy, icy.
Was anybody home when you got back?
No, it was just us. And then the kids started coming home. And that's when I was trying to, take care of them. And then...
So not only has her grandchildren no longer have a mother nor a father, now they don't have a father figure. John was like a father figure to them before he passed away. He was taking the place of his sister and the brother-in-law, helping out his niece and nephew. So this has to be devastating for the kids.
There was a knock at the door, and it was Karen, her father, and her brother asked if they could come in. And I was just trying to calm the kids because Patrick was just out of control, yelling. And then they came in, And then he said, do you mind if we go upstairs and get a couple of her things? Which I never should have let them go up there, but at the time, I just couldn't think straight, and I really didn't have anybody else to help me keep them down in the kitchen. So I don't know what they got up there, what they did up there.
How long were they, when you say upstairs, do you know what room they went to?
I assume the bedroom.
So I'm going to strike that, Mrs. O'Keefe. If you could just, what you actually know, okay? And Mr. Brennan can ask a better question.
Thank you. Could I lead a bit?
Yes.
Ma'am, how many rooms are upstairs in John's home?
1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms and an office. And off the master bedroom, there's a bathroom, and then there's a closet. It's a big house.
Did you see the defendant and her father go upstairs?
I didn't really see them go up, but I knew they were up there because I could hear them.
You didn't follow them up or go to look?
No.
You didn't know which room or rooms they were in?
No, I'm assuming the bathroom and the master bedroom.
My question was poor. You didn't see which rooms they actually went in?
No.
How long was the defendant upstairs in John's home with her father?
I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Did you see them come back down?
No, I did not.
When they were upstairs, what were you doing?
I was trying to calm the kids.
Both of them?
Yeah, well, mainly Patrick.
How was Patrick reacting?
He was very upset once we told him, because he slept over a friend's house the night before, and he just said, I'll never see him again.
Why is it so important that Karen come over there the very day that John died with her parents to get some belongings? Why is that important? That's crazy to me. That could have waited. She must be hiding something.
Sorry.
Would you like a moment?
Mrs. O'Keefe, would you like to take a short break?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
You can just let me know when you're ready. Take your time.
Okay, go ahead.
You ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. That morning, when the defendant and her father came into your home, did you personally interact with the defendant?
Nope.
Was there any hugs, condolences?
Nope.
Did you ever confront the defendant with any accusations when she was in your home that morning?
I don't even remember her being in the house. When she went upstairs, that's the last I saw of her.
Did you ever lean over a kitchen island? Do you have a kitchen island in your house?
No.
Did you ever lean over the kitchen island and say, I think he looks like he got hit by a car?
No. I don't remember talking to her that morning.
Did you see when she left?
Nope.
Did you ever see her Lexus in the driveway?
Nope.
The children, who's their guardian and custodian now?
Well, there's still 4 of us. 4 of us.
Where do they live?
One in Boston, one in Stoughton, and Paul's in Bridgewater, and me.
Where do the children live?
With me. In Canton.
They live with you full time?
Yes.
You're their primary caretaker?
Yes.
Thank you. 12A is the Ring video from 12 Meadows. 12B is the certification from Ring. And 12C is a clip of a portion of 12A.
That's accurate, yes, thank you.
Thank you. With the court's permission, I'd like to play 12C for the jury.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Roberts, you've seen that video before?
Yes, I have.
Is that you and the defendant and Ms. McCabe going into Meadows?
Yes, it is.
When you came out of Meadows, did you have a chance again to look at the defendant's tail light on her Lexus?
Yes, when we left the house, she pointed it out to me.
Did you stop and get a closer look?
Yes, I did.
I want you to describe to the jury your best memory of what it looked like.
Karen pointed out and said, look, my taillight. And she said, do you think I hit him? And I said, no, I don't think you hit him. What are you talking about? Let's just go find him. But the taillight itself, the piece was missing. And as you got closer, there's a metal sort of square, and one of the pieces was sort of sticking out. And I only remember it because I thought if someone walks by that, they're going to catch their jacket on it.
How long of a time did you have to actually look at the taillight?
Under a minute.
How close were you to the taillight when you looked at it?
I was in front of it. I could see.
And when you talked about the taillight, you said a piece was missing. Is this the left side or the right side of the Lexus that you saw the piece of the taillight missing?
It was the right side, so it was the passenger taillight.
May I approach?
Yes.
Should I remain, Your Honor?
Sure.
Thank you. May I recognize what is in that photo?
That is Karen's SUV.
Is it similar or a fair and accurate depiction of how you saw the vehicle that morning?
Without the snow, I can't be positive, but this square piece was missing, as is in this picture.
The photograph you looked at is not the car in the snow in the driveway the day you saw it.
Correct.
Putting that aside, is that a fair and accurate depiction of the damage that you saw to the right rear taillight of Ms. Reed's car that morning?
Yes.
I move to introduce this as an exhibit, please.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay. Exhibit 13.
Thank you. With the court's permission, I'd like to publish Exhibit 13.
Sure.
Ms. Roberts, I'm going to ask you to take a look at the photo that you just described. Do you see the white area in that photograph?
Yes.
Is that where the taillight had missing part?
Yes.
And where was the metal in relation to that white part that you see?
If you look at the white part, it's the upper left. It's sort of like a rectangle, but it's vertical, sort of.
And that's the metal part that you were concerned about?
Yes, one of the side. It's almost like an encasement, but the right side, I think it was the right side, was sticking out a little bit, like out from the car toward me.
Did you express any concern about the metal sticking out?
Yes, because I thought at that height it could clip someone's coat or something if they were walking by.
You mentioned the defendant asked you if you thought she hit somebody.
Correct.
How many times did she ask you that?
She asked me that in the driveway. How many times? She said, do you think I hit him? Do you think I hit him? And my answer was, no, I don't think you hit him. I'm sure you hit something because your taillight's broken, but I don't think you hit him. Why would I think that?
Did you have any reason to think at that point that she hit anybody?
No.
Did she ever repeat that phrase or question in the same or similar manner again that night?
She did at the scene where we found John.
Before or after you found John?
After we found John.
Okay. So we'll get to that then. Could we please take that picture down, Ms. Gilman? How far of a ride is it from Meadows to Fairview?
I don't know, maybe 8 minutes.
So when you left John's house at Meadows and you traveled to Fairview, you said you were driving?
Yes.
Was there any comments or conversation from the defendant on that ride?
There was talk of Ella's mom, who lived near Jen's sister. There was talk, and I said, where is Fairview? And Jen said, it's off of Chapman, so it was near Spring Lane. And I knew of somebody previously that John had dated on Spring Lane, so I brought it up thinking, could he have gone there if he was walking home? I don't know. I didn't know where he was or why he was missing.
Describe the mood in the car.
Well, it was scary driving, and Karen was, frantic, and she was yelling. I don't even remember at this point what she was yelling, but she was yelling. She had an elevated voice. She would be in between us while I was driving, and she would sit back in the back seat and be in between us.
Did you have any words with Miss Reed?
I told her to shut up several times because I was trying to drive and I couldn't concentrate. I told her to sit back and buckle up because it was bad driving. I didn't want to get into an accident and her not have a seatbelt on.
How often was the yelling on the way to Fairview?
Oh, several times. It was like you couldn't control her, and I was trying to drive in a blizzard.
You went down Spring Road before you get to Fairview?
No, Spring Lane is before Fairview off of Chapman.
And did anything remarkable happen on Spring Lane?
So my whole thing is, what's with all this dramatics? If you did not hit him, why are you such a drama queen in the car?
So, I'm sorry?
Anything remarkable happen on Spring Lane?
No.
More of the same?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned yesterday that when you got to Fairview, the defendant began kicking your door.
Yes.
When you looked out, you didn't see anything.
I did not.
And at some point, you ran over to where Miss Reed was.
Yes.
Tell us what your first observations are when you get close to the defendant.
Well, it was a shape of a body, like the length of a body, shape of a body. She ran over, and I said, oh my God. I jumped out of the car, I ran over, and she was lifting up his shirt to try and warm him, I guess. So I went over to his head, and I began to dig his head out of the snow.
Can you take us back and describe for us what you're seeing?
His body was completely covered, but his head was completely covered, so I started to dig around his face and his eyes, and his left eye was fine, but his right eye looked like it was huge, like he had something happen to it. And after that, I told Karen to get off him. We were going to start CPR. I had been certified at work through the American Red Cross, so I knew chest compressions were more important. So I started to do chest compressions, and I yelled to Jen and told her to call 911. Karen was trying to do mouth-to-mouth. I don't know if she knew what she was doing, but I knew chest compressions were more important, so I concentrated on that. I yelled for Jen. I carry blankets. I have 2 kids, so I carry blankets in the car, so I yelled to Jen to get the blankets. I don't know what I thought I was doing with blankets, but I wrapped them around his head, just thinking we're trying to warm him up. He was covered in snow.
When you first ran over, you mentioned that his head was covered in snow. Was his head fully covered in snow?
Yes.
When you looked down, could you see who it was at first?
At first? No. I had to dig him out.
When is it that you realized that this was your friend John?
When I cleared the snow off his face.
Did you feel his skin?
Did I feel what?
His skin.
Yes.
Okay. And could you tell us how it felt?
It was cold. Like he had been there in the elements for a while.
You mentioned that his head was covered with snow before you brushed off the snow. Was other parts of his body still covered in snow?
Yes.
Can you share with us what you saw?
His legs were covered. His arms were by his side. He was on his back. Karen had lifted up his shirt, so now his shirt was down, but I was doing chest compressions so you could see his clothing. He had blood coming out of his nose and his mouth. And when I put the baby blankets under the back of him, there was blood on the blanket, so I think he had a cut on the back of his head.
Was the blood from his nose and mouth frozen or running?
I don't think it was running. It was not gushing.
You said that you brushed off the snow from John's face?
Yes.
Did you brush it off from both sides?
Yes.
Did you brush it off to the extent that you uncovered his entire face and head?
Yes.
So, did you have gloves on?
No.
Bare hands?
Yes.
And that's how you felt the temperature of his skin?
Yes.
When you brushed off both sides of his face, did you ever feel any pieces of glass sticking out of his face?
No.
Did you ever see any pieces of glass sticking out of his face?
I did not.
How long did you give chest compressions for to Mr. O'Keefe?
Oh, I can't be sure. I would say 4 minutes, 5 minutes while we were waiting for the EMTs. I had Jen take over at one point. And then the EMTs came. So however long it took for them to get to us, 6 minutes.
When you were trying to save your friend John, did the defendant say anything?
She was just running around screaming, Kerry, Kerry, Jen, Kerry, Jen.
Was anything said at that point about her taillight?
About what?
Her taillight.
No, when the EMTs were around and they were working on the body, she was running around and saying, did I hit him? Did I hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead? We finally get to the hospital. We walked in. Paul, John's brother, was there. We went over to him, and then Susanna, Mrs. O'Keefe's niece, came out from her office and offered to take me to the bathroom to wash up because I had blood all over my hands. So I went into the bathroom and I asked her afterwards if she could take me to the chapel so I could say a prayer. So she did. She took me to the chapel, and then when I came out, she took me into her office and explained to me that a Dr. Rice was going to come talk to the family and take them into an office and talk to the family, and then the family would be able to go see John.
Did you get a chance to see John?
I did.
Would you be willing to tell us a little bit about what you saw?
Objection.
I waited in the waiting area. I spoke to my mom. Phone calls were coming in because people had heard what happened. And Mrs. O'Keefe, the family went in to see Dr. Rice. I watched them go in. I watched them walk down a hallway. And then when they came back out, Mrs. O'Keefe told me he was gone.
Objection.
Strike that statement.
Without telling us what anybody said to you, please just share with us what you saw.
I went into the hospital room, and John was in a neck brace. At this point, there was a trail of blood going toward the gurney or the bed that he was on. This time, both eyes were filled with blood. They looked like raccoons. That's the only way to describe it. I thought he was going to look better seeing him in the hospital because he had been worked on, but he was not. There was much more blood.
Were there any other ways that John looked different in the hospital when he first brushed the snow off his face in the front of Fairview?
When I brushed the snow off his face, his left eye was fine. It had an ice cube on it that I pulled off, but the right eye was out to here, like a golf ball. When I got to the hospital, both eyes were swollen with, it looked like blood. They looked purple.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
May I quickly approach sidebar?
Okay.
Is this sound? Thank you. Could we start at 6:09:50, please? Could you stop there, please? Ms. Roberts, do you see yourself in that video?
Yes.
And where were you in that video?
I'm over near the flagpole.
What were you doing in that video before you stood up?
I think I was picking up the phone and the blankets at that point.
You see the first responders getting there?
Yes.
Okay. Continue, please.
It's just really amazing that they even found him in all of this snow. That's a shocker. How did they know he was in that particular location? Interesting.
Is that you with the fur on the hood?
Yes.
So we are watching the retrial of Karen Reed. The retrial began on April the 1st, 2025 in Dedham, Massachusetts, following a mistrial in 2024 due to a hung jury. She faces charges of second-degree murder, vehicular manslaughter while under the influence, and leaving the scene of a fatal collision in connection with the 2022 death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Prosecutors allege that Reed intentionally struck O'Keefe with her SUV after a night of drinking and left him to die in the snow outside of a fellow officer's home. The defense contends that O'Keefe was killed inside the home and that Reed is being framed in a cover-up involving law enforcement.